doing it. You supposed to be happy you sitting there with Kid L. Why you mad?
The Kid L Podcast.
Rocking and rolling. We have the funniest flyer in history right here. It's just like your face between two booty cheeks.
Two booty cheeks. You know how to do it. That's how you got to come out with it.
That's funny. Introduce yourself real quick to everybody.
What's up with the world, man? It's your boy AUWIND, straight from Detroit, Michigan, man. The gods in the building, man. Stizzy, man. Crowd Freak. Everybody I'm affiliated with, man. Salute. You know what it is, man.
Now, you guys have your own platforms for artists to showcase their talents,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
That's a beautiful thing that I was just talking to a group of ladies that said they don't feel like, there's enough platforms or venues to accommodate the needs of talented artists that need kind of specific sounds. But I've heard a lot about what you guys do, and you guys are very technical and make sure that things are actually happening the right way. Talk about how that all started. How did you get into starting up these platforms and these venues for artists?
Well, how I did, basically, it all goes back to when I was, about 10 years ago when I really kind of jumped into the scene and just trying to figure out where I could find a platform to perform at. And that was one of my struggles, just trying to find where, I could just come out there and just, meet a few fellow artists, maybe get some fans, get some few followers on, my social media and just build, And I knew that was, some issues, a decade ago. And that was something I just wanted to build. So I wanted to, bring back to the young artists, to the local artists, people who's trying to build and find stages. I wanted to create those stages for them.
Have you ever been to the Phoenix Cafe?
It sounds familiar, but no, I haven't.
It's in Hazel Park. It's on like 12 Mile.
Okay.
And I walked in because I'm in a band and we play like rock music and stuff. And I walked in there one time and I was like, this is so like indie and real and rocky. And I remember they weren't making much money.
Okay.
They were just doing it out of the love for hip hop and music itself and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sounds like you came from a certain angle where it was a natural instinct in you to want to help people and help artists and stuff around. What gave you the motivation to do that? Where does your music inspiration and influence come from?
Well, the number one influence I have to say is from my kids. A lot of my songs, I got a couple of songs that I dedicated to a few of my children, and but that's my biggest motivation is my children. But just from within, I've always been that type of person, just always just trying to help people. I think that's just how I was brought up. How you was raised.
And using music as the medium, or was music the passion too behind it and it just all worked out?
Yeah, music was definitely the passion, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to basically use that helpful, part of myself of just trying to help other artists and, put them in some situations or meet some people that they wouldn't meet on a normal basis, you know what I mean? That's one of the things I'm really trying to create with my platforms now, is just trying to create that diversity where artists can walk in there and not be like, okay, I'm just performing in front of a couple artists like I did last week. Mm-hmm. I want them create a different type of experience for them. So that's something that I'm really trying to work on this year with my future shows.
When you were growing up, you're from Detroit, like you said.
Yes, sir.
Talk about when you're growing up, listening to Detroit music, listening to music itself, like how it's helping to evolve you, and also growing up in Detroit, did that impact how you approached making music or being a part of the music scene more so?
I don't think it really affected me too much. Like I got kind of a Detroit sound, but it's not like too familiar. It's not like too, something that you normally would hear. A lot of people say that I sound like, different other regions and stuff. So, I wouldn't say like I'm the average, this Detroit sound, but because I don't really rap about the same things, because I don't do a lot of the street shit. So I'm not going to really rap about that. So I kind of take a different approach, like a smarter approach to my music as far as, like the metaphors I do, and, just kind of the stories that I tell in my music. So I wouldn't say that I sound like them, and I know that wasn't a question, but that just goes back to that. I just think that I'm a little different type of artist,
Well, yeah, when you talk about hip hop and rap, it's, there's a lot of people look at it as two separate genres. Actually, I kind of do wonder when like hip hop branched off into rap, because rap and hip hop, I think hip hop's obviously started first.
Yeah.
It was definitely hip hop, and then somehow rap emerged from somewhere. Maybe more so the gangster feel turned it into rap at that point, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I'll talk about your life growing up a little bit, man. What was your life growing up?
Man, I mean, I had a pretty chill life. I mean, I didn't really do too much. I mean, I hung around, kids in high school. I kind of had just a regular, I didn't do too much. I wasn't in the streets like that as far as like, getting all into that. I knew some people, but that was never really my lifestyle, you know.
When you were growing up, when did you start deciding like, okay, music is going to be something I'm very passionate about? And
Oh, very young, very young. I started. My parents got me into like classical recital. I started taking classical training, playing the piano at 5 years old. So I was doing recitals at like 6, you know, and so ever since then, you know, I kind of just fell into music, you know. Then I started trying to write songs for myself, got into the studio, and then that's where I really got into like being an artist, trying to figure out which direction I wanted to go.
I'm always interested in hearing like hip hop heads influences, because when you talk to the kids these days, they don't know half the motherfuckers we know.
Nah.
Somebody
they don't.
questioned me about Wyclef the other day. I don't know if you've seen that video, but somebody's like, name 2 Wyclef songs. And I named a lot of Wyclef songs, and he's like, shit, I didn't even know those Wyclef songs.
Damn.
So I'm sitting there like, damn, y'all don't know Wyclef? Like, come on, man. Y'all don't know, like, even Common is like somebody like you rarely hear his name.
Yeah.
But talk about some of the hip-hop influences you had.
Hip hop influences. I went. Wyclef's cool with me, but Common is definitely somebody I definitely used to bang. What's that Go album he had when he was kind of going against Kanye? The early Kanye when he was dropping like the Graduation, you know, Late Registration. Just like that era of hip hop, I was really in love with. Just where everybody was kind of like the Most Def and just everyone in that era, like that 2004, 2005 hip hop scene where, you know, before Kanye really got into, you know, the real, you know, popularity of being a superstar. You know, he's kind of more underground. He hung around those people. He's more influenced by those artists, you know what I mean? So that's definitely the era of hip hop that I was most familiar with.
Yeah, similar to me. Like when I remember the first time I even got introduced to Kanye West wasn't because I heard him randomly. It was like Kanye West was on the Dave Chappelle show.
Oh yeah,
because Dave Chappelle used to have like at the ends of his skits and at the end of the show, he used to have performances. So in one of the ending of his skits, like Kanye West came out, performed on a bus. He had like a Hulk figure hand on him and stuff. He did something completely different. So that was the first time I was introduced to Kanye West. But I really like that Dave Chappelle did that. Like, even though his show was like purely comedy, he introduced hip hop to it too. He
raw
introduced
hip-hop,
like raw hip hop, and then he had his own shows and stuff, and his neighborhood block parties and stuff. But that's when how do you feel about watching Kanye's progression though? Like as far as seeing it from like the underground urban like hip hop, true conscious rap, and then it kind of developed into something that's still conscious, but like him as himself, the way he presents himself as an artist. How do you feel about that?
Man, I think people just get influenced by the things around them. Like Kanye kind of grew. He got more money. You know, when you get more money, you're introduced to things like he's introduced to billionaires and people he's never met before. So he's going to rap about those type of things. Yeah. So, you know, his growth is just his growth in life, you know, from marrying Kim K to becoming a billionaire, you know, rapping about that, being able to, you know, fuck her and all that, you know, all of that stuff. So if you're able to do certain things, the hype of your, you know, life, you can rap about it. So I kind of do the same thing. So, you know.
Talk about when you're paying attention to your music and, you know, where do your lyrics and content stem from? If it's not so much, you know, everybody's so used to hearing the street rap stuff from Detroit. Where does your lyrics stem from? Where does your content stem from?
Mine definitely come from just my experiences with life. The adversity I try to face every single day. I just try to talk about it in a different type of way. You know, I just try to, you know, in a lyrical way. I just try to create a different metaphors and just try to play with people's minds. You know, when I try to, you know, make people run the verse back and be like, damn. You know, he meant 2 different things or 3 different things. So I just try to get really creative with my music.
When you look at how a lot of artists learn to become successful, they start with their hometown first.
Yeah.
Right? And so since your music is different and it doesn't really match the Detroit bop per se, then how are you marketing yourself to find the audience and demographic that matches the type of music you put out?
Well, I've definitely been checking out different markets. I used to live in LA for a few years, from like 2014 to 18. So I used to do a lot of open mics out there, and my sound was still like Detroit. I used to rap on a lot of different, you know, Detroit sounding beats, and people used to be like, "Damn, man, you got a different sound. Where are you from?" I used to be like, "I'm from Detroit." But I ain't gonna lie to you. You can look them up. They not gonna sound like me. They gonna rap on the same beats like me, but they not gonna really sound like me. You know what I mean? I'm just who I am. You know what I mean? So I try to introduce that. But at the same time, I try to introduce the Detroit rappers that I knew in my city back in the time. You know, that people in LA, they didn't really know who they were. Like I would be like, yeah, you know who Icewear Vezo is? They're like, who's that? I'm like, okay, let me go to YouTube real quick, check this out. Then, you know, so at that time, I was just able to introduce people to, you know, the Detroit scene that they never knew when I lived in LA.
So you kind of got to introduce a little bit of the Detroit sound to LA, but
yeah.
not the full effect of it, because you're still different from, you stand out more so than Detroit artists in that category. When you're in California, how are you building the demographic? Is it just doing the open mics and the opening up for people and doing your own shows and stuff like that?
Yeah, I wasn't really doing my own shows back then. I was just really kind of just trying to figure out where to go, because all the time I was out there, I was doing different things. I wasn't really able to focus on music the whole 4 years. But the year that I was able to really focus on it, I really just target different areas as far as going to different open mics, just trying to fill it out, you know, just fill out where to go. I knew I didn't really want to go to the hood and perform, you know what I mean? But I did want to check out the different spots in Hollywood. At first, when I first got there, that was one of my issues. So that goes back to now when I'm throwing shows, it's like I'm really looking for artists that's really trying to build and trying to, you know, gain that experience. You know, I've been looking for somewhere to perform, you know what I mean? And now I have a safe spot. I've had some artists that ask me you know, I'm a gay artist. Is it cool if I can perform? I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? That's one thing about my space. I try to create a safe space where people can come and do their thing. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, we not on none of that. You know what I mean? And I've thrown probably about 12 or 13 events since January when I started. And I've never had one fight, had one argument. People come there and they take care of their business, you know, and that's how it's supposed to be, you know?
Yeah, you know, bringing a safe element to something that, you know, a lot of times can be dangerous. People are afraid to go party or have fun, which
is true.
It's the worst thing ever. It's there's an establishment that's built for you to come party, meet people, network, have a great time, but then there's a fearfulness in your background, well, every time I look at the news, something bad's happening at these events.
Yeah.
So it's always great when you hear about these venues that really create a safe haven, come here and you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine and nothing is going to go wrong. Crowd Freak is another platform where you know, people always talk about you guys feel comfortable and safe to go to those platforms and stuff. Now, how do you build that though? So the difficulty is, you know, you don't know who's bringing what to the table. You don't know who's bringing what to your venue. How do you kind of safeguard that?
I kind of learned that just from experience. Once again, going into last year, I went to a lot of shows. I spent a lot of money. I went to a lot of different platforms where, you know, I walked away very happy, you know, and I'm still cool with most of the promoters today. You know what I mean? Sometimes I go on some stages, I'll be you know, I don't really like how they set it up. I get to the show, you know, things really unorganized. This is last year, you know what I mean? So I had to just go through those experiences as an artist. And a lot of artists, they just kind of fast forward and just be okay, I want to get paid. But it's hold on, first, you got to understand the game first. You got to understand a lot of things before you even get to that. As a promoter, I had to understand, I had to look at myself as an artist in the mirror. Okay, if I'm a promoter and I want you to be my headliner, how many people are you going to bring out? And I have to really look at myself and, you know, as an artist and be damn, okay, now that I've built the platform, you know, I've done things, I got artists that follow me and things like that, I could, you know, put a price tag on myself. But as a promoter, and I'm looking at it okay, what artist am I going to grab? Is this artist going to make this double back for me? Is this artist going to make any money for me? Or am I just spinning this just to look like I got this artist? So, you know, as an artist, I just have to look at myself and just be you know, I got to get to a certain level, and I can't be looking okay, this person is better. I'm better than this person. But, you know, what has this person done? So I had to really look at myself in the mirror as an artist. So that's one thing I learned from being a promoter.
Yeah, that's the thing about it too, right? Because these venues can only exist if they're selling tickets, right?
Exactly.
So if you're running a show, the artists that you book to perform need to be able to sell. Yeah. And then, you know, some of them have outrageous prices for them to come be booked for you. Yeah, and it's well, hold on, you got an outrageous price for me to book you, but you're not making the sales. Yeah. So at that point, that person's more of a marketing thing. Well, we got that person last show. Mm-hmm. That shows you our shows are popping. We got a spot for people to come that people can showcase themselves. But at the same time, you can't take losses.
Nah, yeah. Because
it's
hard
sucks,
to come
though,
back.
Because a lot of these guys are trying to make it, and they don't have the fan base yet, but they need a shot.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard because as a promoter, you have to look at it okay, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this to make money and continue doing this, or am I doing this to look good and to be beside this person? Do I want like a Sada baby or somebody there when I know I'm paying this type of money for him, when I know I'm not gonna make half that back? You know what I mean? Or am I looking at it like, am I gonna help this one artist and put him in a spot, and I might take a loss, or people might look at it and be like, who's this on the flyer? I don't even know who this is. So as a promoter, you gotta just kind of understand, and I had to understand that last year. I had to take a lot of losses and understand how I'm gonna really proceed, and how I really want to keep executing, because I want to keep throwing shows over and over and over. I want to keep taking losses, you know what I mean? So as a promoter, you just want to figure out some way how, okay, if anything goes bad, we want to at least break even. Yes. You know what I mean? So that's just how that's how I try to proceed as a promoter.
Talk about some of your shows, and talk about the greatest shows you think you've had.
Man, some of the greatest shows I've had probably is my number one is probably Henny and Hamburger, Crowd Freak back there last year. I think you were there. Yeah. I saw you there. Mm-hmm. That was a great day. Great day.
So how much of that is your production?
Man, also my production, I really I think back then for that project I had a few of Primo Beats productions. I worked with him a little bit last year. And then now I've got a lot of production from Energy Beats, so that's somebody who I've really been, in close contact with with my new project. So I kind of just work. I don't produce myself, but I work with a lot of good producers.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking about Henny and Hamburgers.
Like
I'm talking about
producing my
fault. No, I'm talking about like the Henny and Hamburgers. Like, how much of it is your this is my stamp on this, and this is my
I just came and performed as an artist.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about running the event.
No, I ain't had nothing to do with that. That was all Crowd Freak. That was all them. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I meant. I meant when you run your own shows, right? Like
I run my own shows, but that one I was coming out as an artist.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. I had to hit that stage
for sure. But as far as your own platforms, when you're running the show, like, talk about the ones that you've accomplished and
the ones that I've accomplished. Probably the biggest one is probably the Mega Fest, the one I threw last year in October, where I had Snap, I had Lexi Blow from Jocelyn's Cabaret. I had who else perform? Stack Boy perform. I had a few other big names there. It was a really good night. I just threw a show in January where I had Calico come here. Cool. I think it was last month in February. I had the Detroit Finest. I had Rocky Bad. I had Lana LaDonna perform. I had Isis the Goddess. So I've been just trying to throw consistently. And then this month I threw a show and I just had Cuddy 5000 on there. So I've just been trying to stay consistent with my shows.
Now, I've noticed that there are a lot of people that are promoting events and trying to break through and make a name for themselves, and you're capable of doing so. Yeah. What kind of advice can you give to the guys that are trying to make a foot in the door, put a foot in the door? Sorry, to get into the entry of being trusted as a venue or a platform or a host of these events.
Well, first you have to just understand what you want, like what type of show. When I first started, the first thing I said was I want my shows to be different. Like, I want my shows to have, like, slot times. I want my shows to be set up like Rolling Loud. And I'm thinking like this, and I haven't even thrown a show yet. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking, like, so far ahead, like, this is how I want the show to be. You know what I mean? I had to kind of learn from different promoters. Like, you can't put set times and stuff because people going to come late. And, I had to learn the game, of course. But I just wanted my shows to be different. I wanted them to be a different experience. I wanted them to be more organized. I wanted, like, people to come there and be like, okay, this show is from 8 to 12. Like, he's on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and of course, people are going to be naturally late. That's how it is, of course, But I just want people to just understand, like, when you come to my show, it's not going to be like the show around the corner, you know what I mean? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a different type. And it starts with the flyer. That's how I honestly feel. I'm sorry. It starts with the flyer, though. I feel like if the flyer isn't, like, up to par or doesn't look, like, attractive enough, it's like it's not going to bring the viewer in. You know what I mean? That's why I try to, I kind of go to the same flyer guy that I always go to. You know what I mean? I just try to stay consistent with the quality of my flyers,
Yeah, of course, man. I mean, sometimes I do see flyers where I'm like, what are we in the 90s, bro? Like, I'm not trying to see this bullshit. But sometimes they're lit too. So it's like, you got to market yourself properly as an event hostess. If you're going to throw an event, just do everything right, man. Market it right. Get the flyers done right. Get the right artists. Make sure everything makes sense. Make sure the venue's set up to properly hear the artist the way that they're trying to put out their music. Like you said, being on time is another thing that's very hard for artists to like do. Everybody, it's very hard because you might have booked one of your main artists for the show, and he might be 40 minutes late, and another big artist might be like, I don't give a fuck what time you guys are talking about. I'm getting on now, or I'm not getting on. So it's like, it's a lot to deal with.
It is.
The more credibility your event has, though, like a Rolling Loud, you're not. That's one thing. That's one thing that kind of pisses me off. It's like the bigger the name of the establishment, the more likely the artist is gonna be like, all right, I cannot fuck this up.
Yeah, exactly.
But why don't you take that same concern for the younger guys coming up? Because you might be the next biggest, you might be the Rolling Loud of Detroit. Yeah. But you're gonna remember how that artist was. Like, that motherfucker's been late to my shit before. I don't know if I want to book him to do this and put him next to that artist, and that conflict's gonna happen. So do you see that, like, you want to build and earn that credibility to the level where, like, everything is on point?
Yeah, I definitely do. I could definitely see myself working in that type of environment, for sure. I just feel like I'm building up to that,
What advice can you give to artists that are performing now, too? Because, there's artist retention, there's artists, how involved they are with you. Yeah. Talk about advice you can give to artists for getting engagement from the crowd.
Getting engagement from the crowd. Always believe in yourself. You know what I mean? That's the one thing. And one thing I had to learn, and this was like this year, well, actually not this year, but kind of the end of last year, I had to learn through my performing, like, if I'm not going to be the hypest person while I'm performing, if I'm not going to be like on 10 levels higher than anyone else, you know what I mean? That's why I kind of feed off of energy when people are performing, well, not me performing, but people are like, in the crowd, getting hyped. I kind of just feed off of that, you know what I mean? Because I'm already on 10, and I see y'all getting up there with me. It just pushes me up a little bit higher. So I would tell artists just kind of just feel, just rehearse a lot for one, you know what I mean? So you can kind of, record yourself so you can see what you like, what you don't like, you know what I mean? And just give it your all every time you go up there, you know what I mean? Because you never know what could happen tomorrow. You never know. You could lose your voice, you could never be able to perform. You never know. So just always go out there like it's your last. That's what I would tell definitely all the artists.
I always look at promoters, like, and especially if you're running the whole show yourself, that it's such a gamble sometimes, right? Like you said, you take losses. Have you been reducing the gamble amount, like, as far as like, all right, now you figured it out?
I have, but it definitely takes, just like it just takes chances make champions, you know what I mean? It just takes it. You got to take losses, you know what I mean? It's hard. A lot of people don't want to take that chance and take losses, but it's just like something you have to learn. Just like when you ride a bike, you fall off a few times, you start riding a little more, you're like, okay, I gotta keep this up, I don't want to fall, you know what I mean? So it's just things that you just learn through life, and that's just me being a man. I've learned so many things just through my late 20s and just learning now. You know what I mean? I've seen the game, so yeah.
What do you feel like your biggest contribution has been so far to your music career, or what's a part that stands out to you the most in everything you have accomplished so far?
My biggest contribution stands out. Man, I had a lot of contributions last year. It was a lot of great accolades that happened last year. Performed at in Atlanta at Buns and Basketball. I've performed at all three Henny and Hamburgers, Scary Hours, and all crowd freak events. Performed at it's just I try to just stay on everything, but then it also goes to the performing. Like, I would tell our artists, like, don't be afraid to spend your money, but at the same time, you have to learn what to spend your money on. You know what I mean? Like, certain things are worth it, and certain things aren't worth it. Like, you can go in front of a lot of art, you can open up for a big artist, you know what I mean, pay a lot of money. But it's like, you have to look at it like, what are you going to gain from it? Yeah. And it's not really financially. You have to look at it from an artist point. How many followers are you going to gain? And it comes down from your performance. You have to really put your performance together to where you're interacting with the crowd, to where they walking away like, oh, I remember him. You know what I mean? So you have to really invest in yourself, not just in yourself financially, but in like your performance. So like, you know, it's just a lot to think about. But it just all comes with experience.
That's the thing that's interesting too, because there's the people who take it over the top, right? Like, you know, some people will, when they start their artist career, they already got, you know, their fashion coordinator, you know, switching up their clothes, changing up the hair, changing up the apparel, their glasses, everything. They want to look like a rapper as much as possible in the beginning, right? And then they do everything a rapper is supposed to do, but you can kind of sense those people out. Like, you're trying to play a rapper instead of being yourself and just, you know, magnifying who you are as a person. That's my advice for every artist, is stop trying to look or act like a rapper. Just magnify who you are as a person. Because when you do that, you bring out all of your energy to somebody, they're going to feel you for real. Versus you kind of masquerading and putting up all this stuff to make it seem like you are something. I can sense those people in 2 seconds. When somebody's too dressed up in a way, I'm like, bro, you pretending to be a rapper right now. But I'd rather see you wear nothing and come out strong and come out with who you are as a person than you trying to put on like a show for us. You know what I'm saying? So when you go to these shows, though, when you watch these artists perform, you know, you do notice who's like really serious about it, and the people who are just trying to play, you know, I'm an artist today type thing. Which is like, you know, it's hard for you to do what you do because it's hard to separate those people, but you give everybody a chance that, you know, he probably deserves a chance at the end of the day. Now, as far as these events are concerned and everything like that, when you're talking about the level of scale you want to get it to, are you really trying to be like the biggest, or do you just want to run something that's good and solid and consistent?
You know, to be honest with you, I just want to see how far it goes. You know, I really appreciate. I just really like throwing bigger and bigger shows. You know, I really want to throw like a festival style show this year. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but you know, it's coming very soon. You know what I mean? Because I got a lot of different ideas. You know what I mean? So they're just all coming to light now. So.
What's the main focus right now? Is music more on the front, or is the...
Oh yeah, music is on the front, but me, I'm someone who, I'm good at like kind of balancing both of them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to throw multiple shows, still work on a project. Like, I got a project, I got my next project dropping on my birthday, which is April 18th. And so I'm like, you know, 3 weeks away from that, I'm finalizing that. And I'm throwing a party like on April 21st at Big Daddy Games. So it's like, I'm just like planning it all, you know, at the same time. And I've always just been somebody that's been able to kind of balance both worlds. You know what I mean? So I just, but definitely after this show, I am going to really, really kind of kick into gear as far as, you know, being as the artist side of me, doing a lot of like more podcasts. Of course, the shows will never stop, you know. I know a lot of things. I know a lot of like different promoters and different, you know, stages I can get on. So that's something that's never going to stop.
That's another cool thing about it I just realized. When you're an artist and you're involved in the music scene, changes it versus a lot of the venue operators aren't artists at all. So they don't really understand artists. Like you were talking about earlier, like knowing how the artist feels when they're on stage. Which is really cool. Like even when people talk about my podcast, you know, I didn't come out of nowhere and just start talking to people, just start talking to rappers and artists and people from Detroit. I was already working in the city for so long before I started doing this. So a lot of people will be like, would you just pop up out of nowhere and start doing... No, I didn't pop up out of nowhere and start doing interviews. There's a reason people feel so comfortable coming to talk to me, is because they know how long I've been involved in the game for. To know what's actually going on, to know what an artist or a performer or somebody who's a part of the industry is going through, because you've been through it. And so having that amount of compassion is super important. You know, a lot of venue operators that aren't artists, they don't get both sides, but those people are important too, because they know math better than artists. Right? A lot of these event coordinators know the money part about it. I don't know the money part about it, but he does. So I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? But you have both sides. You understand the money, you understand the business, and you understand the artists. Now, taking it to the next level, are you the type of person that you're going to go shoot for these bigger artists to come perform, like majors, or are you going to look for do you look at it like that? Are you scouting, or do you, like, how do you figure out who's going to be like a great main show for you?
I've been scouting, really. I've been going off a lot of like popularity and like what's been really going on. Like, I've been really trying to hit up a lot of girls like, you know, Lola Brooks and like Glorilla and stuff, you know, just trying to figure out what they numbers is, you know what I mean? You know, just trying to figure out what we need at the end of the day, how we can put it together, who I can incorporate with it, you know, if I work with them, and just trying to figure out, you know, a great pitch for, you know, the people I'm going, you know, incorporate the project with, you know, so. But I definitely been trying to get at those people, you know. I've been looking at the popularity. I haven't really been investigating too much to where I'm, you know, looking for the artists that's, you know, on the underground, you know, on the way up. I do see a lot of artists that's been making a lot of noise, and, you know, I have been staying a lot, you know, connected with them, and just trying to accommodate them. I've been inviting a lot of them that's going to be performing at my show. So, yeah, I've been just trying to figure out, you know, accommodate them, get them, you know, together, because I know they got a bright future. So, you know.
What's the hardest part so far about running these operations?
Dealing with managers, probably.
Really? They're supposed to be the easy people to deal with.
Man, no, they're not. They're not. No, they're not, man. They're, I mean, some are cool. Some are cool. You know what I mean? Some are easier. Some are more going than others. And some are just like, this is what it is, and this is what it is. You know what I mean? So you just got to kind of figure out what's what, because I learned a lot from having a manager and dealing with other people who've had managers and things like that, and I've seen how things go. So I'll just be like, okay, you know, I understand that, you know, this price ain't this price because of that. It's because it's got to be split 2 or 3 ways, you know what I mean? But it's like, I'm looking at it from my perspective as, you know, what's this going to really make me? You know what I mean? Is this going to really, you know, get me to where I need to make? Like, 'cause a lot of things does make sense to me, you know, and I'm not a promoter that's like, oh, this person's too high, this person's too this, this. No, if it makes sense to me, it's golden, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to put somebody like Dej Loaf and Pizza Hut or some shit, you know what I mean? I'm not going to do that, you know what I mean? Like, where I'm just, you know, spending that bread just to look nice, you know what I mean? Like, you know. But it all has to just make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes managers or artists will think like you give a damn.
Yeah.
But you're really thinking sensibly. I mean, I respect you as an artist. I respect what you've accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that translate for me at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like, some people get so star influenced or, you know, celebrity influenced. And a lot of people will take advantage of the power that they think they have.
Yeah, that's true.
But the smartest people in the industry know none of that really matters.
Mm-hmm.
You show respect, you show your honor for them, but you at the same time don't be stupid for them.
Yeah.
Right? That's something I get messages all the time from blue checks.
Yeah.
Rappers that are blue checks, and I literally delete their messages before I open them. Because I'll hit you up when I want you to be on.
Yeah.
I want to because the way you approach me isn't respectful.
Mm-hmm.
But because artists think that they have this power or that they have this clout or whatever, they think they can speak to you however they want to speak to you. Not with me.
Yeah.
I don't care because I know where I'm going. I know what I'm gonna get done. So I don't care to deal with you if you're gonna talk to me like that.
Yeah.
You want to come with respect because I built something I know is respect worthy. Then we can have a good conversation. Otherwise, I'll hit you up when I want to hit you up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're on that same type of time where it's like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't
Pretty
feel
much.
right, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Pretty
Which
much.
is the long way.
Yeah.
It's the long way.
It is. Yeah.
One day at a time. Talk about the future projects you have coming up, bro.
Future projects, man. Well, Something in the Water's coming out April 18th, man. That's my next project. It's coming real heavy. I got some special things that's gonna be coming out, man. We just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. With that, then I got my birthday party that's coming out, and then I got an R&B show that I'm throwing April 7th. It's called The Lonely Hour. Headlined by Top Notch Mall, Choir Boy, Cartier. I got, I think, about 13 or 14 dope ass R&B artists. It's gonna blaze the stage. It's gonna be hosted by myself. It's gonna be DJ Detroit. It's gonna be spinning. It's gonna be at the 36 Event Center. So it's gonna be a pretty good. I'm a dope out the spot too. It's gonna be real nice. I'm gonna decorate it out. It's gonna be a real nice vibe, real R&B ish.
Sure. What's the God LLC?
Where's what? The Gods?
Yeah.
The Gods, man. The Gods is a platform. It's an entertainment company that I put together back in the end of 2021. And basically it's a company that basically puts artists in front of, fans, in front of, people that enjoy music, live music. It puts them in front of like promoters. I'm not promoters, but puts them in front of A&Rs and gives them opportunities to, you know, be on bigger stages, interact with, you know, other local artists that have a bigger following for them. You know, so the Gods is just a company that I'm really trying to create an empire with, and we got a lot of things coming. You know?
Cool. Is there anything you want to touch on before we close out?
Oh man. Not really. I'm trying to. I don't know.
We'll talk about this. Do you consider managing in the future?
I do. I know for a fact that I'm only gonna do this rapping thing for a few more years. I'm not gonna stop though. But it's just like it's gonna be consistent, like tape after tape after tape after tape. Mm-hmm. But I know I'm not gonna do this forever. You know, it's other things that, you know, I see a bright future in. You know, other businesses that I wanna, you know, jump into. You know what I mean? You know, so music and throwing shows won't be the only avenue for me, you know, making an income. So I know managing is something that, you know, I love developing an artist. You know what I mean? And I think I do have the experience that I could, you know, help an artist in, you know, different ways. Not now, but in a few years, you know, get the money right, get the connections, because I feel like those are the two things you really need, and of course the experience and knowing what an artist needs to succeed, you know, to succeed. So.
Well, yeah, you're right, because what you're doing is, first of all, you already established yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
You've already been around artists performing at events, and you run events, right? So managing an artist is going to be the easiest thing in the world for you, because it's like, I know how to I've been there, I've done that. Let me walk you through this.
Yeah.
Talk about the significance of having a manager or having somebody that can help you.
I think it's very significant. It can help you in certain areas. I think personally, it takes a certain type of manager I would need. Only because I've maneuvered and found a way to really get on the stages that I want to get on. I've talked to the promoters. I've, you know, interact with these DJs, and I talk to these people. I figure out a way how to get on this show. If I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. Let me figure out, how do I get on this show? What do you need? Like, what's the ticket? What's this? How do you get on it? You know what I mean? So I find a way to the point to where it's like, I don't need to find a manager. Yeah. Like, that's just my mental of it. And if I need a manager, it's somebody that's going to get me on a level that I can't get to.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's just my, you know, how I look at a manager. But managers definitely help artists. You know what I mean? They help them develop, especially artists that don't really know. And to the managers that are, you know, loyal and, you know, trustworthy and stuff like that, and really, you know, look and see a future in the artists, which are very many. Those artists are very, you know, you need somebody like that. If you're a young artist or you're an artist that's just like getting started off, managers are very needy. You know, they help out a lot.
That's a beautiful way of explaining it. That's when I post that part, I know it's gonna be a huge topic of conversation, because people don't know when to get one and when not to get one.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been great having you on, man. I'm totally excited. I'm gonna start pulling up your events and seeing what you got going on. Can you tell everybody how to find you on social media?
Yeah, man. Y'all can find me on Instagram, man. AUWIND, AUWIND, man. You know what it is, man. The guys, man. Shout out Kid L, man.
Appreciate you for being a part of this, man. I think you guys are the most valuable people as far as the hip-hop community is concerned, because you're giving people who don't have a voice and don't have the reach a chance to showcase their ability. And I like how you basically said you're not willing to sell out, which is my favorite thing. I think that's a lost thing. I think these days that the indie artists are the future, and that, you know, real artists need to be showcased more so these days than who's just popular. But also to mix it's a lot of popular artists are great and talented artists. Yeah. But you know, knowing the worth and knowing how to mix and match and make sure that things make actual sense at a show, like you said. You're not gonna book somebody with a little, you know, fucking Pizza Hut if it doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of people don't give a fuck about that. They're not sticking to the roots of what makes the Detroit culture and Detroit music great, which is genuine, just being genuine, making things make sense. Yeah. Right. So hopefully we can see you blow up this year and blow up these platforms and make it something accessible for these artists to get to showcase themselves. We're at Parallel Sound Studio. High Low Visions are shooting these productions. We're out. Go check my boy out with the booties on the Good Ass Summer. Go check out Good Ass Summer. Flyest flyer of all time. That's he.
Yeah.
We're out.
It's your boy Owen D, man.
Peace.